Hey, welcome back to another edition of Open Shutter, a Tuesday evening edition. I have the pleasure of welcoming Nicholas Hyatt to the program, man. Thanks for taking the time to jump on this thing.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, really appreciate it, and thanks for doing that reel today too. It was
Oh,
good. It was a good tease, man.
yeah,
It was a
yeah.
good tease.
I think one of the more interesting parts of my story is that I didn't come from a photography, like a formal photography background. Like this
Yeah,
is very much a passion
right.
that kind of came out of nowhere at me.
Really, really, like out of nowhere. Like at what point
Yeah.
did you make that change? At like what age did you actually
So
make the change then?
it was about 5 years ago that
Okay.
I decided to make the jump. So I would have
Wow.
been 25,
Yeah.
26. Like I'm 30 now, like somewhere in around there.
Right.
And at the time, I was working for a pawnbroker here in the city, doing
Hmm.
their evaluations because I have my background's in gemmology, and I was there full time as their evaluator. And it was at the time when kind of COVID was happening. We were going through these series of lockdowns, and uh, I during my off time, I really came face to face with the questions like, am I happy?
Hmm.
Right? And like, is this really the career path that I want to be pursuing? And so also during that time, I had picked up like a Leica M3, right?
Hmm.
And I was just walking around shooting, like taking street photography because you really couldn't get close to people at
Hmm.
that time. And I was like, oh, like I feel like there's something here, like in this world that is speaking to me. And so one day after a conversation with my partner at the time, um, he said, you can go for it. Like you can go and chase that. And he said, the thing is, if you go there, you have to do the thing that people can't do. And he
Hmm.
said that's the only way you're going to be successful is to really master a particular type of lighting. And so I immediately thought, studio photography, right? Like
Naturally,
that's
naturally, yeah,
naturally, like
yeah,
that's where we have to go because
right.
like there's only so much you can do with natural light, and in order to twist and manipulate and really put highlights and shadow where you want to put it, you have to be working in like a studio like environment. And so I went to my bosses at the time and I gave them a bit of an ultimatum.
Oh,
I
wow.
was like,
You're all in, man. You're all in,
oh
eh?
yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. After that, I was like, I'm
Wow.
not happy with my work. You have two choices. You could give me an exit package,
Mhm.
or you can hire me to do your social media, and I'll
Mm.
shoot all your social media content. Because at the time I was looking after the social media, but it was all just like on iPhone. It was like very low bar sort of stuff,
Yeah.
right? But like again, I guess that's kind of one of the factors that went into my decision making, right? Was that I'd been shooting it for at that point, a year or two, and everybody liked the photos. So there was some sort of like message coming through that I wanted to pursue it. And they said yes. I thought for sure I was going to get like handed a check and then be told like good luck and, figure it out. Right. But I had
Sure.
that opportunity, and, I worked with them for a few years, kind of as like a bridge to growing a client book, right. To where I
Yeah.
am. Yeah.
That's a wild story, man.
Yeah, it is.
To have the
And
balls to do that,
yeah,
to go to the boss.
I feel like this industry,
Yeah.
um, you know, I mean, now that I'm in it, I wish people told me a little bit. I wish I had talked to somebody before actually making that decision, because
Yeah.
there are so many days where I just wish I could collect a paycheck, right? But
Yeah.
then there's come times where I've been like, push comes to shove, and I'm like, I think I need to go get a job, right? And I'm like,
Sure.
oh, but like I really don't want a job. And so I'm like, well, we've come this far. Like, let's just
Yeah.
keep going, right? And every time I kind of make that decision to just keep going, like doors keep opening, right?
Yeah.
And for me, it's just I approach my work like with a lot of heart and a lot of passion, kind of like how the jewelry industry is operated.
Yeah.
Um, and I just couldn't picture myself walking into an office or into a jewelry store again trying to get a job.
Yeah, of course, because you've already been to like the other side. Like you've already seen
Yeah,
the other
I've
side,
tasted
right? So
it's like I've tasted freedom. Like if I want
yeah,
to go to a museum and feel inspired on a Tuesday afternoon,
yeah,
I just go, right? And
yeah,
having that sense of freedom,
yeah,
even though there's a lot of responsibility with that freedom to make sure that work's coming in and jobs are getting done and clients are happy,
yeah.
there's just nothing like it. It's very addictive.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, how was like when you were shooting for like your bosses? Like, did you get any feedback from them? Like, how did you like improve your skills as you're doing like that bridge job?
Yeah, it was so much trial and error. And I mean, I
Like,
think they equally knew that I really didn't know what I was what
yeah.
I was
Did you have lights
doing.
and everything? Like, did you have the lights
Yeah, it
up?
had
Yeah.
lights. Like I had a
Yeah.
basic, like I had like rented, I had like a cheap camera and an off camera, a single off camera flash.
Yeah.
And that's how we started, right?
Right.
And everything was kind of like bounce cards and figuring out what different modifiers did.
Hmm.
And it was really just pure experimentation. And they were just so supportive, even if it looked terrible. Like there's some work that I look back at now, I'm like, that was awful.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was so bad. But also when I look back, there was some pieces where there was some work that was like, actually, that's pretty good, right? Like even today, that still holds. But
Yeah.
of course, right? Like they were always very supportive and very like,
Wow.
you know what, it looks great, right? Like just keep going,
Right.
and keep trying.
Wow. Yeah. That's nice. Nice bosses, man. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Super.
both pretty amazing guys, like
Yeah.
very supportive and um, really great. Yeah,
Uh,
I would
you must
work
have
with them again in a
you must have
heartbeat.
also seen some pretty cool things like at that shop. Like
Yeah, it's
some pretty
where I
cool
actually
stuff.
picked up the Leica
No
camera was
kidding.
at
Eh?
that shop,
No
right?
kidding.
And so, I think one of the really interesting parts of my job was like I was a jewelry appraiser. So
Right.
it was my job that when the jewelry came in, I would actually for loan, right? Because it was like a
Yeah.
collateralized loan. You would sit down and I would look and inspect all the jewelry and I would come up with a
Uh-huh.
price that we could loan
Wow.
against it, right? And so I became my skills to tell quality um, within like jewelry became very fine tuned to the point where, I could look at something sitting just on the table and I could guess, how much it weighs, right?
Right.
Like if it was well crafted, even from a distance, right?
Wow.
Based on like the very subtle details, if it was fake or if it was real, right? Like all
Uh,
those little subtle
yeah.
details,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like it's
Cool.
a skill set that has transferred over to photography and being
Yeah.
so detail oriented, is catching those little details in my own work that I
Right.
know is either right or wrong, and we need to fix it.
Interesting. So what do you like? So what do you like look for then during a shoot? Like, are there things that you look for?
Yeah. So, my one of my favorite subjects is still jewelry. Like I love photographing jewelry just
Yeah.
because it's like I'm very intimately familiar with the subject.
Yeah.
Uh, so when it comes to jewelry, for me, it's all about color accuracy, but also highlights and where you're placing each highlight, right? Because you're talking about like a very small object, right? Like rings and bracelets. And so for me, it's all about placing highlights and
Cool.
shadow. Because when you're
Yeah.
shooting something metallic, it's not just one shade. Like silver is not just white, silver is gray to black and white, right? And
Ah.
you have to capture, that full spectrum for people to understand that it's reflective. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Right. So,
Interesting.
like, when you look at the watch image in the bottom right hand corner, right, like on that sapphire crystal, that usually goes over a watch dial, you can see there's a beautiful gradient on that, right?
Wow. Cool, man. Like, how do you get your ideas for this?
It's,
It just
it's
comes to you. Just say we're gonna do it.
It's like it's honestly it's so much brainstorming.
Yeah.
It's talking to friends. It's like my ex had a very big part in my development um, as a photographer, and they introduced me to, they kind of blew my mind when it came to inspirations. And
Right.
so for me, he taught me that I cannot rely on the internet for inspiration, right? Like you
What?
really need to, yeah, like you really need to get out there and dig into magazines, like, and
Oh
not
man.
recent work, like old magazines. Like you have to go back actually quite a bit.
Right.
And so that's where I really find my roots is, in kind of analog media, and like going to museums and like walking the streets, right? Like I'll just
Okay.
walk down the street, or like late at night, like the matchsticks. The
Yeah.
matchsticks, I was just
It's cool.
sitting at home one night and I was lighting a joint,
Yeah.
and I just watched the matchstick burn, and it just burned in a way where I looked at it, I'm like, oh, this looks like a person hunched over. And then, of
Mm.
course, for me, it all kind of came to life, right? Where I'm like, oh, like
Cool.
you could tell a story with burned matchsticks,
It could be
right?
so simple. It could be so simple sometimes, can't it?
Yeah, just really pulling back everything to good light that frames the story, and then
Yeah.
matchsticks just kind of do everything else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting, man.
yeah. They were really hard to work with because they kept
Were
breaking.
they? You went through a couple of matchbooks.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
definitely, yeah. Because
Yeah.
doing the one with the tape on it, that was because you had to cut these real. I had to use like cuticle scissors to cut out
Mm.
these little tiny strips of tape.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The worst, right?
Crazy,
Or you
man.
would just breathe because you're talking about like a tiny piece of burned charcoal. You would just breathe too heavily on the page and it would
Right.
splatter everywhere. So
Wow, man.
yeah.
I love it. I mean, it's just so different. It's just so unique. Like your grid just like comes right out at you.
Oh,
It's very
thank you.
colorful. It's very playful. So it's
Yeah,
cool, man.
we've kind of moved away from like a brighter aesthetic, and I'm really kind of embracing like a darker look right
Yeah.
now,
How
kind
come?
of across the board.
How come?
I don't really have an answer. It's just kind of where, like, when I sat down
Yeah.
and was looking at my work with kind of more of a magnifying glass, I was like, well, what's jumping out to me?
Literally with a magnifying glass?
Yeah, like do prints. Like I do prints of my work just to kind of see it, and you
Yeah.
put them all together and you lay them out and you just
Right.
kind of be like, okay, like what's speaking to me, right? Like I'm a very analog person. Like I write with a fountain pen. I keep a notebook for all of my client meetings. Like I'm
Wow.
not really too much of a digital person, and so
Wow. Good for
when I
you, man.
started mapping out what was speaking to me and
Yeah.
kind of the feedback of what my clients would give me,
Right.
right? They
Yeah.
were always like, you know, you have a favor for dark and drama. And I was
in
like,
the best way
okay,
possible, of course.
yeah, like in a good
Yeah.
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
in a
True.
good way, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so I'm like, that's the feedback. That's clearly what I'm good at, and we're gonna pursue that energy, right? And so that's what I think that's what caused the shift, right?
Uh, so is that hard to do for you in terms of
To
making that
shift.
shift? To shift to like shoot that way, to edit that
I
way,
mean,
like
everything has its challenges.
mm,
Um, you know, it's in my perspective, it's all about the right tools, right? You have to have the
yeah,
right tools to do this sort of work,
true.
right? And so, and there's so much experimentation, like the physique photos that are kind of earlier up in my grid.
Yeah.
That's a prime example of an experiment. I was like, I want to shoot physique.
This
I
too?
want there to be, yeah, this is
Yeah.
I want there to be a very thin highlight that runs
Yeah.
around the entire body. And
Right.
then I want there to be light coming across the body to create like a roundness in the muscles, right?
Uh,
Like there needs to be shape
yeah.
within each muscle, and there needs to be white to gray. But the
Yeah.
problem is, you're shooting, so you have two large banks behind, um, behind them and one strip light going across the front of them. And
Yeah.
the spill on the right side from the right backlight and the right strip light, right? Um, it can blow out your subject really
Yeah.
easily.
Uh-huh.
And so this was a test shoot for like a concept that like a deeper concept that I'm working on, right? And so for
Yeah.
instance, like in this shot, when
Right.
I look at this, I'm like, it I should have shot it on a dark gray, not black, right? Because I used a black seamless.
Yeah. I
Should have
see.
been dark gray because it just I feel like this is too contrasty. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
leaning too art, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
commercial. And for me, like my happy place is somebody pointed it out to me the other day.
Yeah.
You know, my happy place is when an image is sharp, right? Like it
Yeah.
jumps out at you, but it's
Uh-huh.
very welcoming,
Mm.
right? So it catches your eye and then it kind of welcomes you to look closer,
Yeah. I
right?
getcha. I getcha.
And so this to me is just a little bit too on the dark side. And of
Mm.
course, I'm a firm believer that it's extremely hard to fix lighting in post.
Yeah, it's
So
tough, isn't
I spend
it?
so much time um, kind of before I even pitch an idea to a client,
Right.
working out where the kinks are, just so that come shoot day, you know,
You're all good to go.
yeah, we're all good to go. So in my
Yeah.
downtime, it's really like there's a lot of work that I don't show just because it's very experimental, right?
Yeah.
But I'll spend like a day or two here in the studio a week just kind of shooting and playing with ideas. And when
Mm.
something works, that's kind of when I post it,
Mm.
right? And that's when, or I feel like it's 80% of the way there, that's when
Yeah.
I feel ready to share
Yeah.
um, the idea.
Yeah. It's like the artist in you, right?
Yeah. And I
Right.
mean, like, I look at all of my work and I still see the flaws. But I mean, if I got hung up on every flaw, I would still be back where I started. So, you know, there just reaches a point where you're like, this
Happens
is
to
good
everyone.
enough. You
Happens to
know,
everybody.
we need to move on to the next photo.
Yeah. How else can you move on if you're still like trying to fix
Yeah.
like the first one? Like it's impossible, right?
Yeah. Or even just taking a moment to self reflect and be like, well, why am I not happy with this photo? Right?
Yeah.
Where did I go wrong? Where, you
Right.
know, I don't feel comfortable sharing this work.
Yeah.
Right? So my work is very introspective in that sense because I'm always reflecting on it.
Yeah.
You know, I'll go to bed looking at my photos, right, on my phone, like going in and kind of pinching closer and being like, am I
Yeah.
happy with this? Am I happy with that?
Yeah.
Um, and I wake up the next morning with like a new, fresh perspective of where we need to take it or whether we
Yeah.
need to abandon it,
Mm.
right, and move on to the next idea.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like sometimes we don't do like enough of that kind of like reflecting on our own work because we're always kind of like chasing the next thing. Social
Yeah,
media has us just chasing all the likes and all the things, but we're
yeah,
never really looking back and kind of like assessing like, what we know, what we're good at, what we need to get better at. Like
yeah.
we're just constantly on the hamster wheel, just trying to get to the next. So
Yeah. I mean, a very successful photographer once
mm,
shared with me, um, your yesterday's job does
yeah.
not get tomorrow's job.
Mm,
It's your personal work that gets tomorrow's job. It's
yeah.
the work that you do in the downtime. It's the refinement of craft and light that gets
Yeah.
you the next job, right?
Sure.
And so if you're so focused on just getting work through the door, right, you're
Yeah.
not giving yourself enough time to actually build what your vision is,
Yeah.
right? And
Exactly.
so for me, having downtime on my hands, it actually drives me a little crazy, right? When I don't do anything with it, right? Like for me to go and do a beach day, I really have to hype myself up because I
Yeah.
feel really guilty because it's like, oh, like I should be like, you know,
Yeah.
working
Working.
and refining my
Yeah.
craft, right? But I mean, everybody needs a beach day, especially when summers
Absolutely.
are so short.
Of course.
Um, but yeah, I spend, you know, countless hours looking at my work, thinking about what's next,
Yeah.
and kind of pulling on the threads that are working and cutting off the ones that are not.
Yeah. I also feel like sometimes like when you're bored or you're not doing much, I think sometimes that's when the ideas come to you. because your mind's at rest a little bit
Yes.
more, right? Like
Yes.
for me,
So
it's like rest your mind a little bit, you know?
yeah. So last fall, it's
Yeah.
November, so it's like
Okay.
early winter.
Yeah.
My mom and I took the train across Canada,
Oh, nice.
Canadian, and it's like
Was it good?
oh, it was amazing. It was an
Yeah.
incredible trip. We had an absolute blast.
Nice.
We went Toronto to Vancouver.
Right.
We got one clear sunny day, and then it was gray. And then when we got to the mountains, it just snowed like crazy.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, and it was beautiful. The mountain part was beautiful, but the prairies were a little dull just because it was just straight gray. um, but you know, you're 5 days with no cell phone reception. There's
Yeah.
no
No
Wi-Fi. Like it's
Wi-Fi in the
raining,
Via?
no Wi-Fi
Come
the
on,
whole day.
Via.
Yeah, so it's a really hard disconnect. But
Wow.
it was in that boredom. You know, I was just reading um, a book on Richard Avedon when the idea for the photo shoot with the beauty model with kind of the latex over their faces, that's where that concept came from, was in that boredom and in that downtime, because your brain, it just kind of rolls, right?
Yeah.
It just kind of goes places. And so
Yeah.
that's where the idea jumped out at me. And so I flew back. When we flew back, I was like, I have to do this idea
Yeah.
because it was so strong in my head,
Yeah.
right? But even before we shot that creative, because that was a creative between um, myself, Spot Six
Right.
model management, and Jessie Bella, the
Right.
makeup artist.
Yeah.
Um, Absolutely killed the makeup. She hit the brief. She's an incredible woman to work with.
Cool.
Um, and we did like 2 test shoots before shooting that creative.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, just because you're working with, because I've seen people shoot with like cellophane, right, in that clear wrap and that cling wrap sort of look, but
Hmm.
latex, it's a very different material to work with, just because it's thicker, it's more
Cool.
translucent. Um,
Ah,
it loves dust. I mean, the retouching that we had to do just from the dust. Yeah, it's at the very top
at the
of
top, right?
yeah, it's at the top, um, top left.
Here?
Yeah, there we
Yeah.
are. The retouching that
Cool.
we had to do on this one was insane,
Oh, no kidding.
but
Man.
I love it. It was, from execution to completion. You know,
Wow. So is this like your favorite, if your favorite so far?
this is my favorite shot from that series, just
Yeah.
because you get this beautiful glow coming from behind the model, and then that glow from the face is kind of
Yeah.
hidden behind the latex. It's just, to me, it kind of sums up what I do, right? It's like
Mm.
soft highlights with a punchy subject and a bit of dramatic shadow.
Ah, that's kind of what your work is known for. You would
Yeah,
say. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's important. Yeah. That's why clients come to you, right?
yeah,
It's like I want that. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
sure, no problem. We can make that happen.
yeah.
No, that's cool, man. Love it. Love it. How's the so like what's like the hardest part of like running your own business? Or is there more than one problem?
Oh, there's a whole bunch of problems.
Yeah.
For me, it's just kind of, you wear so many hats,
No.
right? And I'm a bookkeeper. I have to do marketing. I have to put
Mhm,
myself out there,
mhm.
right? So it's really about time management. And I would say my biggest struggle is time management, right? Because,
Mhm.
I can go down a rabbit hole and spend 3 days on an email blast, right?
Right.
Getting every little detail perfect. Or I can be like, okay, like that's not a good use of time.
Yeah.
Let's put a time cap of like a half, like 4 hours, and push it out, right?
Yeah.
Make it as perfect as you can in 4 hours, because for all people are going to look at in that asset, of 4 hours is more than enough to make it look beautiful enough for people to click through, right, and
Yeah.
take them to your
Sure.
portfolio, right?
Yeah.
There's obviously like client outreach, because I picture myself as a bit of an outsider,
Okay.
I don't
Well,
come from a
how so?
school.
From a
I
school
don't
background?
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't come from a school background
Mhm.
where, I went to school and now all of my friends are in production jobs and I can just call around and ask a favor. For me,
Yeah.
it's all about cold calling,
Yeah.
right? And I've been in cold emailing, and I have had to
Yeah.
become very comfortable with cold calls and cold emails and not getting any replies,
Sure.
right? Or like a very soft no, but please keep in touch, right?
Mhm.
So, for every, there's 1,000 no's for every yes in this
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
And just from an outsider's perspective, it becomes just that much harder because you don't always know where to start.
Yeah. That's
You
always
make
a tough part. Yeah. Where to start? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I would say that's a challenge. Bookkeeping, got to keep on top of your bookkeeping, and
Yeah, it's important, man.
the
You
worst.
don't wanna get audited.
Exactly. Especially in this business, because
What's
you
going on
really have
over
to
here?
explain. I know, you really have to explain, the finer details of your business, right? I
Yeah.
remember my accountant coming and be like, "Why are you writing off groceries?" And I'm like, "I'm not.
Mhm.
I swear I'm not writing off groceries. It was
Yeah, yeah.
literally food that we used for a photo shoot."
Hey, it's legit. It's
Like,
legit.
it's a legitimate expense, it's food that
Yeah.
we use for a photo shoot, and they're like, "Oh, okay, like,
Yeah.
just make a note of it on the receipt when you do that, just so I
Right.
know, and so that
Yeah.
if it ever happens, like, it's clear what the purpose was for," right?
Yeah.
So, it's the little things, right? It's the
Yeah.
little noise that can get very distracting, and pull you away from your work, right? Because like, all I
Mhm.
wanna do is go and shoot, but, I have
Exactly.
a mountain of other tasks that I also have to look after, right?
Yeah. Yeah. These are all, like, full-time jobs for people, bookkeeping, selling, like, they're
Exactly.
all full-time careers for people, right?
Yeah,
So
and I mean, the long term obviously, the long-term goal is to kind of grow the business in a way where I have a core team of people, right? Like, for me,
yeah.
I want to work with, same stylist, same makeup artist, right, photo assistant. Hopefully, by a certain point, I'm able to have a part-time bookkeeper so I can let
Yeah.
go of that to focus on pushing a bigger narrative, right?
Yeah, of
But
course.
right now, the business is still young. Like, I've only been in it for 5 years.
Yeah.
So I just opened my studio this year. Like, these things take time. And
Nice.
so patience, I would say, is the number one struggle.
Oh,
And being patient that, the work that I put in today, I know will not resolve into anything for 4 to 6 months. And being
yeah.
okay with that, right?
Mm.
Like, over the past 5 years, I've like reflected and been like, okay, like, we go through these waves where it's very busy and then it's dead, and then it's very busy and it's very dead.
Yeah.
And I've figured out there's work in this city all year round, right? But it's like I put in a lot of work at this point in time, and now I'm seeing the results of that effort later. And
Right.
that's what the kind of hills and valleys are all about.
Yeah.
So the goal for the next couple of years is to try and iron that out so it's more of a consistent pace,
Yeah.
right?
The
So
dream, the dream. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, a more of a consistent pace rather than an absolute wild ride.
Yeah. Well, it's, I mean, we're just talking offline about people that do it for the money versus doing it for like the love, right? So obviously you love what you do. So when you
Yeah,
have like that conviction, when you have that like inner belief, like that inner passion, it's easier to manage those like, dips in like the business because you actually want to do it. Like you actually want to be in the studio,
exactly.
right? It's a
And
huge thing.
yeah, it's huge. I mean, you have to love this business. Otherwise, it will eat your soul.
It will. It will. Yeah.
It'll make you like very bitter, very angry.
Yeah.
And people, producers, creative directors, brands, it's like they don't want to work with somebody with hard energy, right?
Yeah.
Especially these days. And like, I remember, again, my mentor sat me down and he was pulling out all of these books by like very influential commercial photographers from the 80s to the 2000s, and we were flipping through his books and he's like, incredible light, extremely talented person,
Yeah.
such an asshole.
Yeah.
And I was like, I cannot be
And that's what he remembers. That's what he remembers.
and that's what he remembers,
That's what he
right?
remembers.
And
Yeah.
that's what he remembers. So I'm like,
Yeah.
well, clearly, like, they were very talented, right? And they were able to capture a market and became very successful, and they were able to do a book, right? But
Yeah.
did they really love what they do,
Yeah.
right? Because when you have that energy, it's kind of hard to tell. And all I know is, if I make it one day, I don't
Hmm.
want to be remembered like that, which is why it's for me, it's so important to keep myself rooted in the art, right? And the
Yeah.
fun and the experimental,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because as long as I'm fulfilling those things, then I'm happy.
Yeah. You're staying true. You're staying true to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's important because we're all, I mean, in the world today, we're all, we're all like following trends and chasing the clicks, right? So it's very easy to like get away from yourself when you're kind of in that game, right? So
Yeah. And I mean, photography trends, they come and go in,
comes
a
and goes. Doesn't
right?
really mean
So
anything, right?
if you commit yourself to a trend, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing, like the way I look at trends is I go, does this fit who I am?
Hmm.
Right? Because if it fits who I am, then yeah, like I'll play around with it and I'll give it a go, right? Just to see what it's all about. But if it doesn't fit for my work, like why would I do that?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
'cause if you're always chasing the trend, right, you're not developing an identity,
Yeah.
right? You're just chasing what's popular, and constantly reinventing yourself in that sense is so exhausting.
Well, it never ends, right? Because you don't really have an
Yeah,
identity. You're just on to the next trend, right? We were just talking offline also about like saying no to things, right? Which if it doesn't fit who you are, you should say no. Like, this is not my
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
It's I
Yeah,
mean, you kind of have to stand for something, right? In terms of like being a photographer, being an artist,
yeah,
be stand for something, be known for something, because that's when people will come to you because they know that you're going to deliver because that's what you do,
yeah.
right?
There was uh, a creative director here in Toronto that
Yeah.
that really put it quite plainly for me.
Right.
She was like, what you need to realize is that you're creating images, and everything that you put in that frame needs to mean something,
Yeah.
right? Like it needs to, like, you're basically telling a story through an image, right? So if it's not serving a purpose,
Yeah.
right, don't put it in.
It has to be
Right?
intentional. It has
It
to be
has to be
intentional.
intentional.
Right. Right.
And so, the concept of saying no goes beyond just work, right? It really needs to be a part of who you are, and understanding what to edit out
Yeah.
of your work, and when to
Yeah.
pull back, and when to kind of really keep things simple.
Yeah. No, it's I think it's super important, especially in the world today, where it's like especially in Toronto, where there's just like there's so many people out there like doing stuff. It's like, well, how does Nicholas stand out? Like what, like why should I sign with you versus well, this is me and this is what I'm known for, and then you have like the track record of yeah, you actually have walked the walk, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Still walking the walk.
The walk never ends, man. Constantly walking. It's a
Yeah, no,
constant
it's
grind. Like
true.
it's just never
Constant learning, like
just you
constantly,
know
and just being open to ideas, and new lighting concepts is very important. And
yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why, my work has taken the shape it has, is just because I'm not bound by an education where I know I'm
Right.
doing something wrong.
Right.
I
Yeah.
know I'm lighting something the wrong way, right? And so and it's kind of in my early days, it was very frustrating because
Right.
I knew probably 90% of what I was doing was wrong, and I couldn't
Yeah.
figure out the why it was wrong.
Hmm.
And so taking time to navigate and be patient with myself, and do some online research and try to get some fundamental understanding of lighting in a studio space, was really key to like my development. And so now that I know the rules, I still don't feel tethered to them, right?
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, there's a
So
freedom in not knowing
well,
as well.
oh, there's definitely freedom of the kind of like having that ignorance a little bit. I mean, so what was your main source of learning? Was it like YouTube mostly to learn the studio
Yeah,
stuff?
YouTube,
Yeah.
practical, just like setting something up and
Right.
thinking through, right?
Yeah.
And then you then come to find out that I set something up and rigged something, but there's actually a formalized tool for that. And it's called
Yeah.
XYZ, right? And so for me, finding the people that I could go to with questions, right? Like
Yeah.
mentors was
Yeah.
very important, because it gave me somebody with the formal training that could tell me where I was going right. And here's the tool that you actually need. And now go try it again, right? And show me
Mm.
what your result is.
How do you find mentors?
I have just been very lucky. I've just been very lucky
Yeah.
to have met certain people throughout my journey who have just been like, "Hey, like if you have questions, please just like send me a note and ask."
Yeah.
So I think networking um, is very important, but your mentors will come to you when you absolutely least expect it, but probably when
Ah.
you most need it.
Ah.
And
Interesting.
so for me, my one mentor, Walter, uh,
Yeah.
he is over at B3K. He's one of the founders of B3K Digital in the East End,
Yeah.
and B3K has been extremely um, generous and extremely helpful in my development. I went to them because I was having issues with a camera lens that I had bought. They had
Right.
they were one of the reps for the brand, and they really helped me out.
Ah.
And I just felt when another camera shop who also carries the brand wouldn't. And
Ah.
so I was like, okay, like this business runs on relationships. You
Yeah.
wrote so much with this one little thing that you had no investment in, right? And so
Yeah.
I just was like, every rental, every buy needs to come from this place
Mm.
because you helped me when nobody else would,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
So
man.
I believe in loyalty.
Yeah.
And, one afternoon I was in the shop and Walter came up to me and said, "Hey, like, let me take a look at your portfolio and like
Ah.
we can just have a conversation about it. Like I just want to know kind
Cool.
of who you
Wow.
are, what you're up to." I'm like,
That's
"Oh,
cool.
okay." So we just sat down, we just started talking, right? And it's very casual. Like I'll just send him an email with an image like from time to time and he'll give me some constructive criticism, right? Or
Yeah.
I'll go in and we'll spend a couple hours just talking, right?
Cool.
But I think finding what's important is finding your community of people that you can turn to. And it's
Yeah.
really up to you because my community might not necessarily be your community,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
Like, like I shoot medium format digital, like that's my primary um,
Yeah.
mode. But if you're shooting film, like
It's not gonna.
that's a completely different group of people, right? So spending time and just building relationships and investing into people,
Yeah.
it pays out long term,
Yeah. It does.
mutually,
Yeah.
right? And I think a lot of people have lost sight of that, right? Where they just
Totally.
want the immediate and aren't
Totally.
willing to kind of put in some work to build a relationship.
Oh, I think it's totally important these days for sure because you're on social media and all you see is the account, but you don't really know the person
Yeah,
behind the account. You don't know the person behind the work. So
yeah.
I hear it.
And
I
you
hear
do,
it all the time. I hear it all the time,
yeah.
man. All
And
the
you
time.
don't know like their daily struggles, right? Everybody
Yeah.
can look very successful on Instagram,
Yeah.
but you
Exactly.
don't know what's happening personally,
No.
right? It could be an absolute gong
You have
show.
no. You have no idea. You just. I
Yeah,
mean, social media is probably the worst way to figure out a person. You actually have to like meet them like in real life and say, okay, hey,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
especially when someone's going to give you like feedback on your work, like
yeah,
it's hard to find people that will give you honest feedback. Like
yes,
I like this,
absolutely.
I don't like this. It's
Yeah,
difficult because usually people don't want to hurt people's feelings, but if you're able
yeah,
to if I think if you're like a true artist, then yeah, you
yeah.
definitely want that honest feedback.
And yeah, you definitely want that honest feedback, but you also have to be receptive to it,
Yeah,
Like,
you have to be
yeah,
open to it. You have to
you have to
want
be
it.
open to
Yeah, you
hearing the
have to want
feedback.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Because yeah,
of
there's been a
course.
few
Yeah,
times where I've just, asked somebody, asked a friend, and I wasn't prepared for the feedback,
yeah.
and
It
it
doesn't
just
go
kind of
well.
tore
It
it
doesn't.
apart, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
wasn't the right day for
we
that.
weren't quite ready for that." And so, you just kind of bite your tongue, and you're like, "Okay, thank you," and you walk
Yeah,
away, and you learn the lesson of,
yeah.
only ask when you're
Yeah,
ready for
when
the
you're ready for it.
feedback.
Yeah, of course. Like when you kind of want to get to like the next level and say, "Oh, I think I'm I like when you think you're comfortable, when you think you're kind of in the comfort zone, it's like, well, maybe
Yeah,
it's now time to kind of go up to level 2 or level 3, you know. But
yeah,
meanwhile, maybe you still need to improve on some things on level 1. You have no idea, right?
yeah, and it's like, I think comfort is, like death, right? As soon as you get too comfortable,
Yeah, it
it's
gets
like,
boring though too, though, doesn't it? Like as an artist, as a photographer, as a creative,
yeah, I mean,
you get
I find
bored.
it very boring, but
Yeah,
again, if you're in it for the money, then you're like, "Okay, I'm in a good
yeah,
spot,"
yeah. You
right?
just
So it
want to make
really
the money.
depends on kind of what your goals are,
Of
right?
course, of
Because,
course.
like, comfort for one person is ideal, where comfort for another person's not,
Yeah.
especially kind of when you're in this growth stage, right?
Hmm.
That where I feel like I'm growing
Yeah.
as an artist, and I'm distilling my perspective, which is why when I get comfortable, when I'm feeling comfortable, I know something's off,
Right.
right? And it's
Yeah.
like we have to push through. I learned that lesson uh, the hard way over the past 2 years, that
Mhm.
getting comfortable is not good, right? Especially
Yeah.
for an artist, you have to kind of put yourself in a position because it forces change.
Yeah. Yeah. We're also kind of scared to be judged too when we try to make changes, right?
Oh,
It's like, oh,
absolutely.
what are people gonna say about me? It's
Yeah.
like,
Or like make a mistake,
yeah,
right? The number of times where I haven't shot something just because I was afraid of getting it wrong,
yeah,
right? And just being like, coming face to face with that,
hmm,
it's tough, right?
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
just, as somebody wants to say, like, go just do it. Like, just
yeah.
shoot it. Even if it's terrible, like, you're the only one that sees it, right? Which is why, like, I don't show everything I shoot,
You must
right?
have some good
Because, like,
stuff there in the vault, man.
it's like
You
it's
must got some like real
experimental.
good stuff in
So
the vault.
yeah,
You should make like a photo album of like all your best shots in the
oh, I
vault.
did a book once. I did a zine once, and I was like, I
Did
don't know
you?
if I could do that again.
Too
Yeah,
much
it was
work?
a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing the zine was a lot of work. I mean, it was very rewarding, and like I sold enough to pay for the project, which was like,
Cool.
and I'm very thankful for the community of people that bought it.
Yeah.
It means so much to me. But yeah, it was. I feel like the next time I do a book, I want it to be for like Taschen or Rizzoli.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think
Right. Yeah. No kidding. Eh?
that's where we want to end up,
That's where we
putting
want
it
to end
out
up.
into the
Put
universe.
put it out there, man.
So
You
yeah,
never
I
know.
mean, like, even if it comes back at me 30 years from now, I'll be like,
Why
yeah,
not? It may. Hey,
it
well,
said
maybe
it.
that's the
So
plan. Maybe that's the
yeah.
plan, right? Yeah. No. So. What's like your vision of making it then? Like, do you have a vision of like the ultimate achievement, or is it?
For me,
Yeah.
making it is not having to think about how I'm going to make rent.
Ah. Well, that's good, man. That's
Like, for me,
simple.
I just want to be like happy, like, obviously, like, I just want to wake up and shoot every morning. Like, if I could wake up every morning and be like, what are we shooting today? Is it
Yeah.
art? Is it commercial? Like, what's happening? Right. And just to kind of be in that energy.
Yeah.
Um, because like I said, like, it's an addiction, right? You're
Yeah.
going in, and like the energy of a photo shoot, like, even when it's intense, is very invigorating, I find,
Yeah.
because it's all about problem solving.
Mm.
And um, no two shoots are ever the same, right? It could be the
No.
same subject matter, the same lighting, but you're going
Yeah.
to run into different problems.
Yeah.
And, that's what I really love about this industry. So if I could wake up every morning and not have to worry about bookkeeping, and not have to worry about the studio is like paid for itself and we're
Right.
good, to me, that's success,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because I'm able to do what I love on a daily basis.
Well, it's gonna happen, man.
Yeah, we're putting it out into the universe. So
Well, no, it's just that you're obviously working towards that, right? So, I mean,
yeah, and it's all like, I'm a long term plan thinker,
Yeah.
right? And so there's obviously things that are short term that you have to face and deal with. But in the overarching sense, long term planning, right? Long term reward. And so another thing I find is the energy, of my generation and younger, it's very short term,
Yeah.
right? And they're just, which I understand, like we're in a very short term world right now, right? Like we don't know what tomorrow looks like on many different facets, which is very
Yeah.
scary. But I'm trying not to take on that energy too much. Be aware, be conscious, and make decisions kind of with these short term things happening in mind,
Yeah.
but with a long term vision for yourself of where you want to be,
Yeah.
right? Because when you get so caught up in the short term, it's really easy to just drown in the weeds, right? Like I've
Of
been
course, man.
there, like I've
Yeah.
been in the weeds, like everybody's been in the weeds, and it's just not a great place.
Yeah, you always kind of need that like North Star, right? To guide you through. I
Yeah,
find
exactly.
you kind of need that North, because yeah, there is a lot of noise, there is a lot of things going on, and it is easy to get drowned in client emails and
Yeah,
accounting stuff and blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden it's like Sunday. It's like, oh, where does week go all of a sudden?
I know. I feel like as my one of my old bosses told me, every other day is Wednesday. Like
Yeah, 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 exactly.
like when you
Exactly.
get in a channel, like every other day is Wednesday, and you just
Yeah,
wake up and you know you're like, where did the time go?
yeah, it's a very slippery slope if people aren't kind of equipped with like the right mindset in terms of like running a business and having these like big projects and clients and all these things, like
Yeah,
especially when it's just you, when there's no team. It's like it's got to be got to have like the right mindset, which you obviously do, right? So it's
oh,
a cool
thank
story, man.
you. It's
Yeah.
reassuring to hear.
No, it's cool. I think sometimes we just want to hear it. Like we just want to hear someone say, "Hey, I like your work. I like what you did here. I like what you did with the lighting. I like what you did with the shadows." Like
Yeah.
it's cool to read it on social media as a post, as a caption, but
Mhm.
sometimes we actually have to hear it from a person.
Yeah,
It's
hearing it from
different,
a person
you
makes a
know?
huge difference. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just a different vibe to it.
mhm.
Right? So
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that the other day. It's like, when was the last time someone told me about something? It's like I can't even remember when someone told me about something. It's like it's a very kind of captiony world we live in. But what are you gonna
Yeah,
do, right? What are you gonna do?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on AI?
I knew this question was
What's
coming.
gonna come to you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, right? And I think as artists, I think the artistic community has
Yeah.
probably been the ones to face it the most, right? And have kind of
Yeah.
processed it the most compared to the rest of the world. For me, I see it as a tool, right? Like if I'm putting a pitch deck together,
Yeah.
um, I'm able to kind of give some peripheral aesthetic, right?
Right.
If the client's really not getting it, like I can AI something so that, they get it. But like again, like I
Yeah.
see it as my job. I'm like, I should be able to sell this based on
Yeah.
reference work, right? Like
Of course.
this is the lighting, these are the poses, this is kind of the finished look, right?
Hmm.
And so I don't know. It's a bit of a black swan for a lot of people,
Yeah.
and I see it as a potential tool.
Yeah.
I don't think the government is necessarily doing enough to protect artists and to protect
Yeah.
IP.
Yeah. It's true.
I think the most recent scandal with WeTransfer is really not
I
okay.
saw that. I saw that.
Yeah,
What's going on over there, man? What's going on over
it's
at WeTransfer?
honestly, it's so multifaceted, and
Is
they're
it like
really well.
they can own your stuff forever or something and use it without paying you?
Yeah, it's something like that. It's like I haven't had time to really like
It's
dig in just
wild
because it
stuff.
is so recent. But I've read the cliff notes. I'm like, I know enough now. I'm probably not going to be using WeTransfer until I at least like really dig in on this and
Yeah.
understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I just it's not great, and the government really needs to step up what their response is, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's probably not going to come for the government. It's going to come from lawsuits, and it's going to be the
Yeah.
lawsuits that really dictate how AI fits into our world, just
Yeah.
because it's moving too rapidly for our government to really adapt to it.
Mm.
Um, so I mean, which is unfortunate because like nobody should have their work stolen, right? And then have to go and spend a whole bunch of money to go defend it in court and then try to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt,
Yeah.
right? It's very
It's
challenging.
wild, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
just
it
it's
really is the Wild West with AI right
feels that
now.
way. It feels that way though, doesn't it?
And every day it changes. It's
Yeah.
such a shifting landscape. Like I remember when AI would come out and it could barely generate like a 250 pixel
Yeah.
square
I
box,
know.
right? And
Now it's
then
giving
now,
us
like,
4K videos.
yeah, I just messed
Uh,
around with it the other day. I was like,
yeah.
wow, this has come a long way, like just in 2 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think, when I look at it long term, I think where I see like me shifting like my practice is to tangible,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Like real
Printed.
tangible moments,
Yeah.
right? Which means for me, like kind of recircling back to film, right?
Right.
Like I learned on a film camera, and that's why I feel partially like one of the elements of why I know how to like say no and curate and cut out, because like I've made mistakes that have cost me quite a bit of money
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
shot it on film,
Yeah.
right? And it didn't work out. And so now we have to like, go reshoot the same scene or the same street
Mhm.
again with,
Mhm.
and try to recapture what we had felt at that time, right?
Mm.
And so for me, it's like the shift back to film, like I can see that coming just because it had to be real,
Yeah. Of
right?
course.
It had to be a real moment in order for that image to exist,
Yeah.
right? And I think, showing the behind the scenes of that process, like people are going to relate to that on a more human level, right? And so obviously this is, a very multi-layered process. There's
Y-
a lot of learning that I'm going to have to do of working with film in a studio environment. Like that's completely
Yeah.
different. There's going to be a lot of client education involved, right? And
Right.
it's ultimately not going to be a product for every client, right? It's going to be
Yeah.
for the client that, understands what we're doing and what we're trying to do and that it resonates with their brand values. And so
Yeah.
if I think about I think it says more about a company's intentions if they use AI to create content
Uh,
than if they hire a team to execute,
right.
right? Because they're more interested in A, saving money, and B, cutting human costs,
Right.
right? Cutting jobs, right?
Yeah.
Cutting opportunities, and we're just going to farm this out to AI, right? Then they are, you know, actually getting people on the job and supporting people and
Uh,
supporting artists,
mhm.
right? And so what I'm really on the hunt for are the people who want to support art,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm not interested in a Fortune 500 company that just wants to do AI generation because I'll never get their business, right?
No.
Because they would
And you
just
don't
go
want
out
it. And you don't want
and
the
I
business either. Yeah.
because it's like, we are not aligned, right? Like I go out and I make art and I make my vision, right?
Yeah.
And it just so happens that our brands um, align with our core values, right? And that's what drives it forward,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I think it's important to take a step back and look at what companies are doing, right? And I can definitely see like the broader consumer market like embracing AI, right? And
Right.
AI generated content just because, they are pushing out like a low cost product, right? With
Yeah.
high turnover. And, they'd rather just have the money. I get it. If that's your motive, that's for
Hmm.
you, right? But I don't think the luxury segment of the business is ever going to be able to get away with it,
Yeah.
just for the fact that when you build an entire brand on craftsmanship and human story, you
Right.
can't throw that to the wind by
Yeah.
doing an AI generated campaign.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a good point, though. Yeah. It's a human thing. It's a human element to it.
It's a human element, yeah.
Mm.
Which is why, like, I'm not scared of AI because, it doesn't align with my vision of media.
Yeah.
Uh, and it probably doesn't align with a number of people's vision of media. And
Yeah.
so as long as there's like a disconnect between like humanity and computer, right, and the emotions that kind of swirl around that,
Yeah.
I think there's always going to be a market. The market might get smaller, right, and it might get more defined. And so your work really has to be attuned to those changes,
Right.
right? Because it's going to be, you know, adapt, or, what do you,
Adopt or die.
I hope
Yeah.
it's not so finite,
No.
right? Like in my brain, like this is kind of the worst case scenario,
Yeah.
right? I really hope that there is harmony, right? And, there are tools in post that help out with post production, right? That I'm sure are very helpful in streamlining and being able to get things done faster, right? But every time we embrace that, we need to know that it's coming at a cost,
Yeah, it's a tricky
right?
slope. So yeah, it's a slippery slope, isn't it? Because when where do you end? Like where do you stop using AI and kind of like put in your own effort into
Yeah,
things, right? Because AI can't be you. AI can't make what you want to make, right? Like
yeah.
it's
So, like,
impossible.
where's the line in the sand?
Where
It's
do you draw it?
everybody's personal opinion,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah, yeah. Like
to each their own.
yeah, yeah. It's gonna be a fascinating next couple of years, isn't it, for the whole world, but especially
Yeah,
for like the arts.
but yeah, especially in the arts.
Yeah, like it's like, was that real? Was that fake? Was that real? Like you're always kind of questioning things what you see now, right? So it is what it is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
exactly.
Ah, it's a great
Because
story, man.
yeah, well, I think you make a very good point,
Hmm.
about what's real and what's fake, especially in
Yeah,
the arts world, right? You see these major installations, right? That 20 years ago, even, and like 5 years ago, 10 years
hmm,
ago, right? Like fairly recent history,
yeah,
you knew that that had to exist.
right.
Like somebody made that
Yeah,
happen,
yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Um, but today, it's not the same.
You're not quite so sure now.
Yeah. Like
Yeah, kind of
somebody could AI, you know,
anything,
anything,
anything.
right? And you're not sure if it really happened or not. And I think that's the dangerous part,
Yeah,
right?
especially when it comes to like journalism and things of that nature. When you're like
Yeah,
covering world events, like you don't like, is it real? Is it fake? Oh,
yeah,
all right. So
yeah.
it's a
Very challenging.
it is challenging, right? But I think that's when again having that, like, well, like I said earlier, like having like that North Star to kind of guide you through and say, no, this is what I'm doing, this is who I am,
Yeah,
and kind of staying true to yourself amidst all this chaos going on around us, right? It's
yeah. The
important.
North Star.
So important,
It's
I think. Yeah, I
very
think. Yeah, sometimes we don't think enough of like the North Star and like what that means and like,
yeah,
why am I doing what I'm doing? Like what is it? Like,
yeah,
it's a constant evolution of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and I mean, it can change obviously, but as long as it's kind of like there for you, I think it definitely helps out.
yeah. I agree.
It's
Yeah,
it's wacky, man. It's wacky. What is a crazy story, man? Pawn shop to here is crazy, man.
it's really crazy.
Like
I
it's
never,
wild.
like when you're growing up as a kid, your parents always
Yeah.
tell you like you never know really where you're gonna end up,
Yeah.
right? And I definitely never thought I would be a commercial fine art
Who would have
photographer.
thought,
Who
man?
would have
The
thought?
world, life acts and life operates in weird ways sometimes, but obviously for the best, right? It's just a matter of, I think your story is good message of like following intuition, like kind of like following that
Yeah,
intuition and kind of just staying and just keep going, right? I mean, it sounds so easy, but you just got to keep going.
and I think you know, for me, it's a perspective of life, but it of course also bleeds into work.
Yeah.
Um, as it's like if something is too hard and
Hmm.
you find yourself working to force it to happen,
Yeah.
it's not meant for you, and you need to let go and you need to
Yeah.
move on. you
Yeah.
know there's been taught, and like sure you can keep on like beating that drum and keep moving down a path, right? But it's really important to stay attuned to the voices that are kind of coming back to you,
Yeah.
right? because ultimately it's going to save you a lot of trouble, right? Like if I'm shooting a particularly hard or difficult subject,
Yeah.
right, and I'm trying to force something to happen and I can't quite work through why I'm not happy with the lighting,
Yeah.
right? I can keep on wasting time trying to figure it out,
Right.
or I can be like, we need a hard reset.
Yeah.
Everybody take 10 minutes to
Yeah.
just like have a breath. I'm going to go look at the deck and like go through and just take a few minutes to like have
Yeah.
a look at what's going on, right? Or like my reference images, because there's like times I'm experimenting and I'm just working alone and I'm really struggling to make an image work. And I take, 5 minutes,
Yeah.
right? Have a glass of water and like a
Yeah.
little breather, go look at my reference photos again, look at where I'm at with the lighting setup,
Yeah.
and make the changes or do a hard reset, like tear everything down, right? And reset. Like that only happens when I'm experimenting alone, where I do like a complete teardown.
Uh,
Um, because whenever we're shooting with a client, obviously we've tested the light first.
yeah.
So we know all the kinks. But
Yeah.
this is why it's important to do light tests, right? Just because you've run into these problems, right, on set, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I know how to fix it, right? And the only reason why you know how to fix it is because you light tested it and you know
Yeah.
where the
So
things
important.
are lining up, right?
Hey. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Problem
so
solver, man.
problem
Problem
solver.
solver. Yeah.
Photography is half knowing your lighting and half problem solving on set.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a DP on a couple weeks ago, and he goes basically like half of my job is just problem solving on set. Like it's just solving problems all the time, right? So
Yeah,
it's not so much about the images; it's more about like being able to get the best image possible, and you have to be able to deliver, especially when you're on a paid shoot. You have to be able to do that.
yeah.
Otherwise, you may not get hired again, right? So
Yeah, like you have to deliver,
yeah,
right? Which is like there's a lot of pressure in that, but
yeah,
as long as you've um, put in your work, which is why I feel photography has to be a work of passion, right?
hmm
Because you have to put in so much work
hmm
before you actually get the payoff,
yeah, totally,
right?
totally,
And if you don't put in the work, either you're going to fail on set and you're not going to be able to deliver,
yeah,
right? Or it's going to be a very painful process all the way up to delivery, and you're not going to want to do it again.
yeah. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah, it's not fun
Who
anymore.
wants to go through that stress?
Yeah, and then it just further weighs you down,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
it's wild, man. Yeah, no, it's cool, man. Well, we're kind of up against the hour, so I just want to say
yes.
thanks again for coming on.
It was my pleasure. It was great
Yeah,
talking with you.
yeah, it was a great chat. Any final words for the audience out there?
Not not really. Besides, like, just listen to the universe and like
Yeah,
what is
I like it.
yours will be, right? And
Yeah,
what's too difficult and you're forcing, let go.
yeah,
And if you're a photographer, test shoot, embrace your art form, like, and if you're not willing to invest in your art, you should rethink maybe
uh,
your choices.
these are wise words, man. Nicholas, thanks again for coming on, man. I'd love to have you back on at some other point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Great.
have a great summer, man.
Yes, you too. Take care. Thanks for having me.
People watching, listening, wherever this thing is, Spotify, YouTube, the universe, go check out Nicholas. His links are in the description of this podcast. And we shall see you next time. Peace.